Let's give a round of applause to every one of our guests that came out today.
My name is Donald Jones. I am an empowerment coach and a motivational speaker of the mindset. I'm also a social worker for people with developmental disabilities. How you doing? So my journey pretty much started through academics. In the third grade, I was diagnosed with something called dyslexia. And for those of you guys that don't know what dyslexia is, it's a learning disability which kind of messes with your comprehension and the way you learn. So a lot of things that I was learning inside of the classroom, I wasn't retaining. It was just, I'm just staring at a board, watching somebody go up there and write, and then that was it. When I graduated high school, I couldn't read. I couldn't read or write. So I grabbed the first job that I can possibly get, which was upstate in a children's home, working with children and not having to do anything but make sure they didn't have to fight, make sure they didn't fight. One day my supervisor comes to me and asks me if I wanted a promotion as an assistant supervisor, and I told her no, and she asked me why, and I said because I can't read or write. Fast forward a few years later, I decided to challenge myself and go to college. And when I went and I called the college to see what I would have to do to get into the college, they told me I had to take a test. And right then on the phone, I told the lady, I'm not going to pass the test. It makes no sense for me to go into to come in. She said, come in, try, take the test, and let's see what happens. I go in the next day, I take a reading and writing test, and I told the lady automatically, I said, I'm going to let you know right now, I have psychic ability. And she's like, what do you mean? I can predict the score that I'm going to get on the test. She said, well, what do you think you're going to get? I said, a 0. And she said, why do you think that of yourself? Why do you think you're going to get a 0? I said, because I can't read or write. She said, let me score this, come back in an hour, and we'll have a conversation. I came back in an hour. She told me, she said, you know, your test scores is a little rocky, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you into college, but you're going to be on academic probation. You can take one college course, and the other course has to be a reading and writing class or something geared around it. So she put me into a sociology class. And the very first day of the sociology class, the sociology professor said that she wanted us to write a 5-page paper on why we decided to take sociology. So I'm saying to myself right now, like right then and there, like this is not going to work for me. I don't even know why I'm paying this money. I don't even know why I'm here. There's no way I'm going to be able to write this paper. And I went home that day, and I tried to figure out every way possible to write this paper. I even tried to call people up, some of my friends up, to offer them money to write the paper for me, and they told me no. So what I started to do was I started to Google words, take words out of the dictionary, put it together, not even know if it made sense, and I brought the paper back the following week to her, and I gave her the paper. She graded the paper that following week, and then she's calling everybody up one by one to come up to the classroom to get their paper, and she calls me last. When I go up to her to get the paper from her, she hands me my paper face down and tells me she wants to speak to me after class. As I'm walking back to the desk, I have a big 0 on my piece of paper. So I'm sitting at the desk, I'm looking at this 0, I'm looking at this professor, and everything that I've thought about myself, of everything that I've heard people say about me, became true. I felt like I was stupid. I felt like I couldn't read or write. Nothing was never going to come out of this. And I asked her at the end of class, can I do the paper over? She said, listen, the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because of this. I've been teaching on the college level for 28 years, and I've never seen a paper this disgusting in my life. This is the worst paper that I've ever seen in my life. So if this is your plan A, you need to figure out a plan B and move on with your plan B, because college is not for you. Just like that. And that feeling and the way she made me feel that day is what put me on a journey to where I am now. I never wanted to feel that way again. I went home that night and I gave up on college. I'm going to be so honest with you. I gave up on college. I told my mother I'm not going back to college. It's not happening. Went to sleep. I don't know what happened in my dreams, but when I woke up the next morning, I was determined to change the way I felt. And I really studied and worked hard that whole semester. While people were sleeping, I was only averaging about 2 hours of sleep. I was up reading the dictionary, writing, calling my friends up, calling my mother up, waking my mother up. Everything I could possibly do to figure out how to learn how to read. And in one semester, I brought myself up to college level with my reading and writing. I brought her back the paper. She said that whatever score I get, it's not going towards a grade. Whatever score she gave me, which was the 0, that's what it is. But she'll score it for me if that's what I need. Just like that. She gave it back to me about 2 weeks later, and when I turned the paper over this time, it was a 30. But that 30 to me became 100, because it showed me that I can do whatever it is that I want to do in this world and nobody can stop me. Like, it made me feel like I was invincible. And that's what brought me up into the stuff that I do now, where I'm going to different schools and I'm speaking to different young men and women and going around and speaking to people and telling them about my journey, because there was a lot that came along with it as well. When you have that low self-esteem and think that you can't do certain things, you start to really believe it. So now it starts to mess with your mental. And once your mental is starting to be messed with, you just give up. You don't want to do anything. But I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then I said, you know what? Somewhere along the line, I need somebody that's on the same journey that I'm on. And literally, my senior year in college, now remember, if I would have gave up, I would have never met the person that actually really changed my life my senior year. My senior year in college, I wound up connecting with my professor, which is now the CEO of the AIM High Empowerment Institute. And I wound up connecting with him, and he started teaching me things, and I started thinking differently, and then all of a sudden I had all of this confidence within myself. And for me to be able to do the things that I do now, for me to be able to be a social worker for people with developmental disability, for me to be able to put together a life plan. This is a life plan. A life plan is something that dictates where their services are coming from, where their services are going to go, where they're going to live. I'm actually able to write that and do that. I run my own blog where I'm reading and writing, and I'm telling people about my story. So that's pretty much what got me to where I am now, is the struggle of life and people telling me that I can't, and that I cannot do something, and that it's impossible. And I want you guys to always remember something. It's always impossible until somebody else does it.